How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Spring Cup, and this is going to be my first video as a 29-year-old. Today is my birthday, and for those of you guys who are younger than me, my advice to you all is just don't get old. Because getting old, really, yes, sure, you get wiser, you learn more, but today I just randomly woke up and my back hurt, and I haven't done anything in the last week other than work and take care of my wife and child. And when you wake up from sleep and you have pain and you literally have done nothing, that is how you know you're getting old. So yeah, stay young, guys. And with that being said, we're going to jump into the Spring Cup today, and my team, pretty spicy. The Slurpuff safe swap there, kind of unique. I really didn't see any others. And as you see, our safe swap coverage and our Roserade coverage is just about the same. We have fire and grass type moves, and those moves really cover a lot of the Spring Cup meta that you're going to see. Now, this team is definitely not a team I would recommend for climbing. It is definitely spicy because the team overall is pretty weak to Tentacruel, and as many of you guys have seen, probably Zionic and Homeslice Henry both have Tentacruel videos out. So I saw a lot of Tentacruels, and really our best answer to Tentacruel on this team is Pelipper, and the backline really just does not want to see Tentacruel whatsoever. So don't necessarily use this team, but we do manage to actually go slightly positive on the day with it, and Roserade absolutely destroys some mons, because Roserade, for those of you guys who don't know, actually has a very similar stat product to that of a Great League Surfetch'd, which is notorious for being one of the highest attack weighted mons in the Great League. So this thing hits like an absolute truck, and despite this team not being that good, you guys are not going to be disappointed, I promise. So let's get right into these battles, and hopefully my oldness and chronic pain can make it through this video without too many difficulties. So let's get right into the battles. So getting into the first battle here, we are running our Pelipper on the lead into a Lantern, and this is actually the first battle that I played with this team as well. And at this point I was kind of like, is my team like utter trash? Am I going to get destroyed by Lantern lead? And so we bring in the Slurpuff here. They do chip us and dip there with the Surf, and then they bring in a Galarian Wheezing, which is really not a great matchup for our Slurpuff. But as you see, we do get the Flamethrower off. It does about half, but if they overheat us here, so be it. We will not get a shield advantage, but as you see, the opponent actually goes for the resisted Brutal Swing, and now they're going to be forced to give up a shield in order to maintain switch advantage, and that's exactly what they do. And it looks like we probably would have gotten to a Flamethrower there if they don't throw, so they're forced to throw, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to take back switch there, so I settled for a shield advantage, which is still not great, because even with a shield advantage, Pelipper still gets just massacred by Lantern. So we're going to just stay in here, take all this damage, bank some energy, and then what you're going to see is I actually bring in the Roserade here, because Roserade already has to 2v1 this backline, so I figured it's probably going to need an energy lead in order to do that. So we bring it in, we actually resisted Bullet Seed down, a poison type, and the opponent's last mon is a Mantine, and at this point, my only win con is if they shield this bait, and they do shield the bait, I throw 2 more Bullet Seeds on the CMP tie to a potential Ice Beam, and guys, this is how attack-weighted Roserade is. That neutral Leaf Storm there nearly one-shots a Mantine, a very bulky mon from full health, and at this point, I overfarm slightly, I get my Weather Ball off, we're going to take out this Mantine, and the Lantern did throw right away, so I'm going to throw 3 more Bullet Seeds just before they get to their move. Catch it on the Pelipper. Do they undercharge it? No, they do not undercharge it. And now we're going to Leaf Storm this Lantern, and that is going to be a GG. And as you guys are about to see again, Roserade hits super hard. We one-shot the Lantern, and a very tricky first battle ends up being a very nice win. So GG to the opponent there. I think if they undercharge that Surf and farm down, it might have gotten a little bit closer, but either way, GG. Ferrothorn lead here. This is, again, pretty early battles. I think this is like the second or third battle I played with the team. I think it's probably better to safe switch out right away, because as you see, if they wanted to there, they could have actually thrown a second Power Whip and forced a shield off my Slurpuff, but rather than doing that, they bank some energy, and they bring in their Jelly. And still, Jelly here is going to outpace us, so they're still going to be able to take us out without giving up a shield. But the thing is, they stayed in for a bit, and they bring a water type into our Mon that has some grass coverage. So my thinking here is they may have a second water type in the back. So we bring the Pelipper in. We're going to take out this Jellicent with a Hurricane. No baiting. Weather Ball would not have KO'd, and their back Mon is in fact another water type. They have a Lantern in the back, and this move, despite Roserade being pretty glassy, still does not do too much damage. And I'm over farming here because I recognize that they were probably going to try to catch, and I over farm. They bring in the Ferrothorn, and now this Ferrothorn has to face the wrath of fire type Weather Ball. So I throw the first one, I throw the second one. We actually get both shield from the Ferrothorn, and this, I believe, is enough for like a flash cannon, so I do respect it. And now I'm going to over farm and again throw on CMP. And even though this Ferrothorn is still pretty healthy, Weather Ball takes out the Ferrothorn. I bring back in the Roserade to the Lantern, and I catch their move. I did not have to catch that move, by the way. I was just getting to my Leaf Storm, but I wanted to flex on the opponent a little bit. And yes, they're going to farm me all the way down, but we have a shield, and we have the Leaf Storm loaded. And Leaf Storm, as you saw, definitely will be one-shotting this Lantern, and that is going to be a GG. So, well played to the opponent there. But again, Roserade with a shield advantage in the back just absolutely swept that opponent's team in. Into the next battle, we have a Trevenant. So this is kind of tricky. Our back Mons don't want to see this necessarily with a energy disadvantage, but with an energy head start, like if a Trevenant came into my Slurpuff, it wouldn't be as bad. So we stay in with the Pelly, and pretty much Trevenant's always bait with a Seed Bomb. So I basically always just call the bait there. And I just usually like to go double Weather Ball, because at the very least that we're going to get a shield. And if they shield a Hurricane, then they're still pretty healthy after they take us out here. So as you see, by double Weather Balling, we actually get them low and get a shield. And now Roserade can come in and farm down the grass type. And this is just a Seed Bomb that is double resisted damage. And now we have a shield advantage, and they are very, very hesitant to bring in their next Mon, as you see. And despite Araquanid being a super bulky Mon, that Leaf Storm does like 2/3 of its health. We bring the Slurpuff in here, and all they can do really is just Bubble Beam us to oblivion. So they do Bubble Beam, and they bring in a Shadow Wall Rain. And really, this debuff actually doesn't really hurt us, because even from full health, Wall Rain could take an energy ball and probably still just be outside of farm down range. So we were going to need 2 energy balls anyway, so not really a huge deal. But unfortunately, we can't really no-shield this, because I think that the Shadow Powder Snows would probably farm our Roserade down before we even got to a move. So we're actually going to have to double shield, and then we should be able to take this thing out and then hard swap our Roserade into the Araquanid and take it out. So this should be a GG here. We do take out the Wall Rain. We're going to bring in the Roserade, and at this point I just go straight for the Weather Ball. I wasn't quite sure how much residual energy they had, but as you see, that nearly KOs, and even if they were to get to a move there, our Slurpuff could just come in and farm down. So GG to the opponent there. So getting into the next battle here, Pelipper on the lead into a opposing Roserade. So I think I only saw maybe 1 or 2 Roserades, but a pretty cool pick by the opponent, and they bring in a Wall Rain, which really, with an energy lead, can pretty soundly beat both of my back Mons. So I actually decided to stay in here, go for the Hurricane, at the very least get ourselves a shield advantage before we bring in one of our back Mons, and we do grab a shield. So now I will bring in the Slurpuff, and as you're going to see, Slurpuff actually, first of all, wins CMP against the Wall Rain, which is kind of crazy, honestly. You would think that Wall Rain probably wins CMP, considering it has a higher max combat power, but apparently Slurpuff actually does win CMP. And as you're going to see here, we get their second shield, and we actually get the very rare Energy Ball defense drop, and that allows us to get to another Energy Ball, which with the defense drop actually is going to take out the Wall Rain. So we maintain switch advantage, and we have 2 shields. And now I'm actually going to bring in my own Roserade here, and unfortunately they are going to get to their move first. But what I'm recognizing here is Roserade is super glassy, so I actually might be able to KO their Roserade with 1 Weather Ball, and it just barely doesn't KO. But I recognize that they just were getting their energy for their second, so I bring in the Pelipper, I catch their Weather Ball, and they have a Lantern in the back. And as you guys have already seen, Lantern just gets absolutely one-shotted by Roserade, and honestly, props to the opponent for not surrendering here, because I definitely would have. And we are going to get the satisfaction of one-shotting another Lantern and one more bullet seed. Actually, no, the Roserade was already dead, so GG to the opponent there. But wow, you know what? Mad respect to the opponent for just staying in and letting their Lantern get wrecked. So this battle was very, very fun. A Galarian Wheezing on the lead, which is not great. The opponent builds up to 9, which is enough for the back-to-back Brutal Swings. I do bait here. They do shield, and I'm thinking 2 Brutal Swings actually just barely doesn't KO, so I should be able to no-shield this, but the opponent apparently is running Hyper Beam, which I did not even know was a potential move for the Wheezing, and I get absolutely one-shotted. And I bring in my Slurpuff here, but unfortunately, Flamethrower is not going to be enough to KO, so they can very safely let that go. And now, they get to another move, and I'm just like, are they going to bait me, or are they going to full send it? And I shield last second, and they bait me with a Brutal Swing. I go for the farm down, but they get to the Hyper Beam, so I'm going to have to go down 2 shields already, and they do actually full send the Hyper Beam there. And now we're down shields. We do have energy, but the opponent has a Tentacruel, and at this point, this is basically a GG. Tentacruel is just a huge core breaker for the backline. We do get the 2 energy balls, but probably they're just going to shield this up, farm me all the way down, and they actually let it go. And I bring the Roserade in, and I get the farm down. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Am I going to win this game? But the opponent has a Sunny Cherub in the back, and what you're going to see here is the opponent just plays this game immaculately. I do get 2 Weather Balls off here, which will grab the final shield, but the opponent very wisely is over farming a ton, and he throws just before I get to my 3rd Weather Ball. This will actually take out the Roserade, and now he's like a couple bullet seeds away from the Solar Beam, and at that point, I just surrender because that game was over. Very well played by the opponent. Very spicy moveset, by the way. Like, who runs Hyper Beam on their Wheezing? But yeah, GG's. And in the next battle here, I think we had a Mawile lead, and they safe switch into a Trevenant, so this is okay. We probably will just stay in here. Again, double Weather Ball it, and again, as I said before, I always call the Seed Bomb because they always Seed Bomb bait, and at this point, they were at the back-to-back, so I just decided to farm all the way down. Rather than losing the CMP tie there to the second one, I just farm all the way down, and I do go down a shield, but I have so much energy. What's going to come into our Pelipper here, and it's a Ferrothorn, so I overfarm. I'm just going to go straight for the Hurricane here. Way too risky to bait, in my opinion, because Hurricane does not one-shot a Ferrothorn from full health, and unfortunately, they are going to farm us all the way down, but this is actually okay, because our Roserade has a pretty nice matchup here, so I'm actually fine with just letting my Pelly go down and aligning my Roserade, and they bring back in the Mawile, and despite us being a Fairy type and then being a Steel type, these Flamethrowers are going to do so much damage. They actually call it, and they almost get one-shotted from full health, and I'm just going to let my Slurpuff go down. It's actually a play rough. We simultaneously KO, and this is perfect. Now we have Roserade. We're only 1 away from the back-to-back, and I shield at the last second, and it is the Flash Cannon, so that definitely would have KO'd, and we are now at the back-to-back Weather Balls, and Ferrothorn does not appreciate this double super effective damage, and that is going to be a GG. So there I actually almost decided to call a Power Whip, but yeah, Flash Cannon definitely would have one-shotted our Roserade, so GG's there. And getting into the next battle, we have a Dugong lead, so pretty neutral overall. How I like to play this one is just farm up a ton of energy here, tank their first Icy Wind, and then safe switch into the Slurpuff. So that is exactly what we're going to do here. We tank the Icy Wind, we bring in the Slurpuff, and unfortunately they do just barely outpace us to our move, but this is okay. We've got this Dugong chipped a little bit, and we are actually going to lure out a Shadow Venusaur, which is very nice. I really think that a lot of people don't know that Slurpuff has Flamethrower, because I did actually see a lot of people bring in Grass types to it, so we get the shield there, and we actually get the second shield with the second Flamethrower, and what you're going to see here is the opponent tries to farm down, and they cannot, and now their Shadow Venusaur takes a Flamethrower to the face. Unfortunately, we were debuffed by that Icy Wind, so it doesn't one-shot, but this Venusaur is at 100 energy, so I actually bring in the Pelly here, and I click on the Weather Ball right away, and that way the Venusaur basically, at the cost of one of my shields, loses all that energy. And now I'm up a shield, the Dugong comes back in, I'm going to Hurricane this Dugong, and then I'm going to hard swap in the Roserade. What's going to be in the back? And it's a Pelipper. And if you remember from that Mantine earlier, a Leaf Storm nearly one-shots a Mantine from full health. So how much damage do you think it's going to do to the very glassy Pelipper? We charge it up, we one-shot the Pelipper, and that is going to be another GG. So Roserade, if you can get their shields down with the Slurpuff and draw out their best response to something that has grass and fire moves, Roserade will just absolutely tear up the backline. So they actually do build up here in this lead to a energy ball. I'm going to call it. And again, opponents always like to bait on the lead. And I farm up to the CMP tie to their second weather ball. And I'm just going to go straight for the Hurricane here. I either want to KO them or grab a shield. And we do KO them. And now, depending on what they come in with, a Lantern, I actually will pivot into the Slurpuff. And as you see, I think they did lag maybe one or two fast moves here. But this is completely perfect. By safe switching out of there, I force their Lantern to switch out from my Slurpuff, and now their Lantern is going to be aligned to my Roserade in the back. So they come in with the Araquanid here, and despite the type advantage here, Araquanid is just an absolutely absurdly thick Mon, so they actually will probably get us fairly low here. They do go for the Bubble Beam, and Araquanid, as you see, has already tanked 2 moves. This move will KO, but at this point, they're probably just going to sack the Araquanid. And that is exactly what happens. And now we're debuffed, so the Lantern here is really not going to be super threatened by us. So yeah, they're going to take us out here, but we now have a 2-shield Roserade into their Lantern, and the opponent sees the Roserade, and they surrender, and that's a GG. So all I would have done there is just build up to 100 energy and just started spamming off Leaf Storms. And even though that we debuff our attack, that was still a very comfortable win there. So another Lantern lead in the next battle. Very, very bad for us. We safe switch into the Slurpuff, and again, they chip us, and they bring in a Shadow Abomasnow. But the question is here is, do they know about the Flamethrower? And they don't. They don't know about it. We one-shot the Abomasnow there, and they bring back in the Lantern, but they lose CMP, and apparently this opponent just has no idea what moves we have because they let the Energy Ball go as well, and we've now taken out an Abomasnow, and we've gotten their Lantern very low, and now Roserade can come in here, farm all the way down, and they had better hope that they have something in the back that can take on a Roserade and a Pelipper. What's it gonna be? And it is their own Pelipper, and I'm at basically 100 energy, so I am actually gonna bait here, and they do fall for it, and now they're probably not gonna want to go down 2 shields knowing we have a Pelipper in the back, and Leaf Storm one-shots the Pelipper from like 95% health, and that is another GG. So Pelippers, guys, basically, even though we're doing neutral damage to them, Pelippers do not want to take a Leaf Storm. That might as well be super effective damage. So a Shadow Mawile lead. The opponent safe switches into a Shadow Golduck, which is very, very cool by the opponent. So we're going to chip and dip here again. They do shield our Hurricane there, and I decided to bring in the Slurpuff because Shadow Confusion would probably just absolutely mutilate the Roserade, and they bait us with a Bubble Beam there, and I call it. And now I'm going straight for the Energy Ball here, and this is going to either force their second shield or KO them, and they shield it again. And at this point, I'm like, I have a 2-shield advantage. I'm going to call another bait, and they Bubble Beam a 3rd time, and we are now again going to take both shields and switch advantage. And basically, with a Pelipper and a Roserade, this is a GG. It really doesn't matter what they have in the back, and it's a Shadow Vic. I bank the Weather Ball, and now what you guys are going to see is Roserade just doing what it does, and that is sweeping team. So I'm going to build up to basically 100 energy here, throw the Weather Ball to KO the Vic, and despite the fact that I could go double Weather Ball on the Mawile, I decide, you know what, let's see how much a Leaf Storm does against a Shadow Mawile. If you guys saw my post earlier, you saw that it does like 90% of its health, and we actually even get to the next Weather Ball. We had the Weather Ball loaded on the Pelipper, so that we didn't even have to take it out there. All we had to do was get it in Weather Ball range. But as you see, guys, resisted damage on a Shadow Mawile still nearly one-shots it from full health. So GG there, and a Pelipper lead in the next battle. And again, as always, I'm going to call the Seed Bomb bait. They always bait. And as Jamie Finn would say, the opponent is a master baiter. And we're just going to double Weather Ball this thing again. We are actually apparently a master baiter ourselves. And again, the double Weather Balling is just a safer play. Because as you see, we do get them low and we grab the shield. If we just Hurricane there, they shield and they're still fairly healthy. So again, just the safer play to double Weather Ball there. And again, we're going to come in with the Roserade and commit to the farm down. But the opponent actually tried to catch our Weather Ball on the Tentacruel, but we don't fall for it. And now we're going to bluff the Leaf Storm. We get the bait. And I think this actually was enough for a Scald. So I do respect it. Just an Acid Spray. But now this Tentacruel is going to have to face the wrath of a neutral Leaf Storm. And it nearly one-shots again. We bring in the Slurpuff and we get the Fairy Wind farm down. And what are they going to come in with here? This is going to be pretty tricky still. And it's an Araquanid. So Araquanid, as you guys have seen, very, very bulky. So this game is definitely not over. We're going to throw the Energy Ball. And as you see, we're going to need 2 more Energy Balls still to KO this thing in. Araquanid will start debuffing us here with the Bubble Beam. So this is going to be very, very close. And I believe that their Trevenant does have a Seed Bomb loaded as well, which is why I let that go. And actually, they bring it in aggressively. So my plan here is going to be to farm up as much as I can. Just before the Energy Ball, I come in, I snipe with 1 Bullet Seed, and now we have to survive 2 Bug Bites. We survive 2 Bug Bites on 1 HP, and we get to the 3rd Energy Ball, and this should KO, and it does KO on 1 HP. Our Slurpuff clutches it out, and that's a GG. So that one was very, very close. And I believe we are hopping into the last battle here, guys. So I actually did speed these up to 100 and I think 60%. So let me know in the comments if this is a decent speed. I've been playing around with the speeds. Haven't quite figured out what I like to run it at. Yeah, I usually do 1.5 and this is 1.6. So yeah, last battle here. We brought our Slurpuff into the Ferrothorn, and the opponent actually just is staying in here, which is perfectly fine by me because the Slurpuff is very spammy. So already we're going to either get their 2nd shield or just take this out. And now we've given our Roserade a 2 shield advantage, and the opponent actually decides there to bank some energy and switch into their Weezing. So I actually will shield this up here and then bring in the Pelipper, and I have basically 100 energy here on my Slurpuff. So I'll keep that in mind, knowing that unlike that crazy person earlier on, most people are not running Hyper Beam on their Weezings. So I knew I could very comfortably tank a Brutal Swing, Hurricane this Weezing, and then the opponent is going to have to basically bring in their 3rd here. And actually, they decide to bring back in the Ferrothorn, which in my opinion is not the play because we do have the Flamethrower on our Slurpuff. But instead, what you guys are going to see is I'm calling that the opponent is going to blind Power Whip here. So I'm actually going to bring in the Roserade and save all that energy on the Slurpuff for the endgame. And did we catch it? We did catch the blind Power Whip. And their last mon is a Mawile. And this is now a GG. I just need to chip this thing now. This gets it into Flamethrower range. I will now Flamethrower the Mawile. And all we need to do is basically like 1 or 2 more Fairy Winds. And we'll get to a 2nd Flamethrower. And we survive the Bullet Seeds. And that's going to be a GG. So you could argue that I should have just Flamethrower the Ferrothorn initially. But what I was worried about there is that the opponent would maybe try to make a catch. And I didn't know what they had in the back. So we end up clutching out a pretty good game in the end. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this team in today's video. Again, I do want to clarify, this team is definitely spicy. Not necessarily one I would recommend climbing with. Again, it is pretty weak to the Tentacruel, and the reason I'm clarifying this is because in some of my past videos, as well as some of the videos on other content creators' channels, people have been like, yeah, tried this team out, it's really bad, went 0-5, and I'm like, yeah, obviously, most of the teams that I run are definitely for spice. As you see, we're still in like 2200s, which I am a player that hits Legend every season, so we're taking it nice and slow. We're running the spice, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. So I hope you guys are enjoying every minute of it as well. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, because the more subscribers we can get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.